Hey gamers, it's D&D Hobbyist. This is Workshop, your buddy Work. Checking in. This is a vlog entry. It's a long time coming. So we just finished our December session. We didn't play in November, and we did have an October session that I never uploaded a video for. So I'm just now coming. I'm going to try to catch up a little bit. But what the whole channel is so far anyway, is that I do recaps after our session of an ongoing campaign of 5th edition Dungeons & Dragons. Right now we're doing the published adventure Tomb of Annihilation. So the party is in the Forbidden City of Omu, the Cursed City, and they are collecting, or they were in October, they were collecting these cubes that will hopefully unlock what we know to be the Tomb of the Nine Gods, which is like the entryway into the Soulmonger, which is the source of the death curse, which is kind of the whole adventure. So our party was in there. They had freed the translator used by the Red Wizards from their base camp. The Yuan-ti had collapsed a building on him. They got him back up, and he led them to the nearest shrine. So they had already done 3 or 4 shrines, and they got Orvex. He took them to the Camdan shrine, which has the clay gladiators, which proved to be I thought it was going to be very challenging. It proved to be very challenging. The party struggled. The healer went down twice, and I believe the barbarian went down once, maybe twice. They would heal him back up, and they go down and heal him back up. Very challenging fight, but they overcame it. They had not rested since they got their wings, so even though they leveled when they got to Omu, they were still level 6. So after defeating that shrine and getting that cube, they came outside. They found a hidey hole, just in some plants and stuff, and made all the rolls and were able to rest. So they not only did they rest and recover and get all their spells back, but they also leveled up. So they came out level 7. They started knocking out the other shrines. They flew over in the lava and took out the Jakuli shrine. They came back. They went to the Abli shrine. And the Abli shrine had been ransacked, and there were bodies of Red Wizards and Red Wizards hirelings there. So they tracked the Red Wizards and were able to find them engaged with kobolds. So they fought the kobolds to help the Red Wizards to get a parlay with them. Spoke with the Red Wizards, explained that they were collecting these cubes and that they needed information. And that they were, and they just exchanged a little bit of information with the Red Wizards, probably a little bit too much. Their main takeaway was that the Red Wizards were not there to stop the Soulmonger, but they were there to find the Soulmonger, was what they explained. So they liked the 4 Red Wizards that were left, specifically Zegmira, the leader, who has the face of a young woman on one side and a crone on the other. They like that little detail. They pretty much, I don't think they gave them a map, but they explained where the other shrines were. They explained that the cubes were to gain entrance to the Tomb of the Nine Gods. They explained that Ras Nasi had one of the cubes, or has the cube from the Grung shrine. That they had they didn't explain that it was a doppelganger, but they had a spy inside the Fane of the Serpent. So next stop was the shrine on the way to the Fane of the Serpent. It was Zorbo, I always call them drop bears, the Zorbos, and then they were going to go to the Fane of the Serpent. So they bid the Red Wizards and Orvex farewell. So that was pretty much the end of the September session. So the September session, we started a little late. We left a little bit early. I only had 3 people, but we got through it. It was fun. It was good. It was more just knocking out shrines. So there wasn't, it was a little bit of problem solving. Like I said, that first fight was so tough that everybody was a little tired, a little fatigued after that. We tried to have the November session. Everybody was in the day before, and then the day of, one by one, people dropped away. So the first one was Alicia. Without going into it, they all dropped out. I said, fine, you know, we'll go December. But it was kind of sad. That's the first month we've missed since we started the July before last. So we'd made, you know, I mean, it was well over a year, almost a year and a half without missing a session. So that's probably, I don't know if it's a record, but it's a little bit of a miracle when it comes to D&D groups. So especially with a monthly group, I don't think I've ever had a monthly group that really stuck to it like that. So that, you know, made me feel good. And then same thing today. We had everybody the day before was, we're in, we all want to do it, we miss it, you know. And then today, I have one player, you know, he has finals week next week, he's graduating, so he kind of needed to focus on that. He said, you know, I'm probably going to be late, I may not be there at all, and he didn't come at all. But that was Gabe, who plays Tien, the half-orc barbarian. So we had the other 3 players there again today. We did the Zorbo Shrine. They could not figure it out. There wasn't enough details. They thought there was a red wizard in there that was turned to stone, and they thought that he had completed the necessary part of the challenge and didn't understand why he got turned to stone if he completed it. And they really just kind of grit their teeth, grabbed the cube, and ran for the door. And Stima she made 2 Constitution saves, fairly steep ones, and made it out of the shrine. So they got the cube. They just kind of brute forced that one. They didn't solve the actual challenge itself, but hey, they got the cube. So now they have all the cubes. They don't have the Red Wizard cube yet, but they've been given permission to use it by the Red Wizards now that they're short-term allies. So they have all the cubes except for the Grung cube, which is held by Rosnasi under the ruined palace of Omu. So they send Tien up to scout because he has like eagle eyes from his totem. He scouts around and basically finds the entrance to the Fane because there's a bunch of snakes acting squirrely. They're acting not snake-like. They're acting like snakes walking down roads. So he sort of found the entrance. Uriel, the half-elf rogue, and Stima, the druid. So Stima did Pass Without Trace and turned into a mouse and got into Uriel's pocket. And Uriel drank an invisibility potion. And they snuck down and went down the ramp. And you know, they scouted the whole thing out. They saw the snakes everywhere. Uriel's stealth is ungodly, and especially being invisible with Pass Without Trace, they were barely a breeze. Scouted everything out, had no real idea how to get in. They then commenced to scouting the buildings and going in greater and greater circles to get further and further away to try to figure out any other ways that they could get into the temple, any other options they had, because they didn't want to go in right through the front door, and they knew that was probably not going to work out for them. When the invisibility was about to wear out, they left. They were leaving that area, and the way that it's laid out, you know, you have the palace in the middle at the top, and then you have a concentric ring that's a lower elevation, and another ring that's a lower elevation, and another ring that's a lower elevation. So they kind of, to get out of the lowest ring, you have to go by this secret entrance into the Fane, and they walked by it while they were investigating. So I gave him a roll, and he found it easy peasy. And they immediately went down in it, exploring, and then they came back. They got the rest of the party, who all went in there. Again, this is their second day on their wings. Like they are just going fast. We said, you know, a lot of those shrines, they probably weren't even in there a half hour. The Zorbo shrine, they definitely weren't in there a half hour. Yeah, most of the shrines they've just blown through so fast. They're really, for the amount of time that we took to get through the jungle of Chult itself and to do other side quests, versus once we hit Omu, they were like focused. They're like laser focused. So we got just the 4 characters, or nobody else. So the 4 characters went in the back door. You know, they explored around a little bit. They found the poisoner, the poison lab. You know, they incapacitated him. They questioned him, interrogated him. They found out a little bit of information. They killed him. They threw him in the water. They didn't even know there's a Hydra in there, but he'll probably get eaten by the Hydra. They bypassed all the slaves and everything. They didn't even explore that area. They went north pretty much all the way into the Fane itself and saw like the Fane sanctuary, like where all like the blood from the sacrifices runs out of the mouths of the snake statues into a giant pool of blood. And they're like, okay, I think we kind of know what's going on in here. So then they realized that they had come in through the back of the door, so they went to the west and came through basically to the other side of the door that they had scouted out. And then they snuck around further down that corridor and found the armory, which had the bone naga in it. And Uriel was the one who had researched nagas before they left Port Nyan Zaru. So he was able to identify the bone naga, and they just beat feet out of there. That was one thing that they kind of tipped off the Yanti, because the bone naga did see them, but the bone naga didn't leave the room, because they closed the door. The other one was whenever they initially scouted the main entrance, he put ball bearings, like he dropped some ball bearings, and like that would tip them off too. So while there weren't alarms going off, the Fane itself, the whole temple complex was on alert, so they were like patrolling, etc. So the party went back. They doubled around. They explored a couple more rooms. They found the storeroom with the giant snake in it and left it the heck alone. And then they went all the way down and back up, and they found those slaves with the slave master in the tunnel that they were building. And they put a hurt on those dudes. So they killed that slave master with his mirror just immediately. Like, he just snuck in there and just tried to assassinate him, even though he's not an assassin. And they took them out. The barbarian absorbed a lot of damage, and the rogue absorbed a fair amount of damage. But overall, pretty easy combat. So really, they only had 2 combats. They had that one with the slaver, and they had one with the poisoner. So it was the poisoner, and he had 4 zombies, I think. So that was really easy. So they freed those slaves. They talked to the slaves. The translator boy, his name was Kobe. So they talked to Kobe for a while. And Kobe kind of explained the layout. And he was the one who told them that Rosnasi had the death curse. You know, he didn't say he had the death curse, but he said, like, he's wearing wraps and he smelled like he was rotting or dying. And, all of this. And they were able to put that together. So, yeah, they gave them some food and some money and sent them to the Red Wizards. and immediately went to Rosnacy's throne room. They did take a short rest. They took a short rest in the poisoner's lab, and then they went to the throne room. And they pretty much just walked right in. So they got to the Fane, and they skirted around the outside of the temple. You know, there are a few Yuan-ti inside there. There's one person like manning the gong, even though they just didn't see anybody. So they all slid through there, would pass without trace, and into where Kobe told them the throne room was, and they went right into the throne room, and Rosnacy's there, and his champion is in there, who's really an ass kicker. I was glad that they weren't going to fight him. So yeah, they walked right in, and he was like, you know, like, how did you get here? Explain yourself. Who are you? You know, and they picked Bo to be the spokesman, which was kind of funny. I don't know how they came to Bo. Maybe he had the highest charisma, but they put Dayton on the spot, and he was like, it doesn't matter who we are. We got all the other power cubes. You got the last one we need so that we can stop the death curse. He's like, you know what the death curse is. I can tell you do, so just give us that cube and let us do our job. And he was just like, here's the cube. He goes, do not fail. And they escorted them out of the Fane and let them go. He's like, you know, that's about the best situation for Rosnacy. These guys just appeared in his throne room, and they were straight to business. They didn't try anything. They didn't ask for anything. They didn't even fight. Like they appeared armed, ready to go. Like it really, everybody was just like, oh, did that happen? Yeah, it just happened. So they walked them out. They went back to the Red Wizard compound. I said they were followed by snakes, so obviously they're being monitored now. They went back to the Red Wizard compound. They got the cube from them, and they're going to the Temple of the Nine Gods, which they had to ask directions for because they don't know where it is. So the next sessions are January 2023. It's like the 22nd, and hopefully we'll have everybody. And we're gonna go for the entrance to the Tomb of the Nine Gods. I'm going to give them one random encounter roll on the way there to see if they fight the trolls or the Zenorum or any of the other random encounters that I made up as soon as we got to Omu that they've never fought any of them. I take that back. They fought one of the Yuan-ti. One of the Yuan-ti patrols. So we'll see if we get a good roll on that. They're also, I would love to have them fight the King of Feathers because they're going to be kind of in his neighborhood. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to let them hear him, and then maybe they'll investigate, and that'll be a nice big bloodbath, and they can rest and then go into the tomb. I don't know. We'll see. Pretty excited for it. I think they're good. They got a good attitude, and they're still working together as a team, trying to figure stuff out. You know, as they get. Like, they got a couple new spells, you know, going up to level 7. Both of the Divine Casters got a new tier of spells, so they got to cast a couple of those, and they were very excited about that. But overall, it went, again, well. It was a little, I don't know. I could feel the nerves because it had been 2 months since we'd played, and I just didn't know how to prepare for that. You know, for Omu, I didn't know how to prepare at first because I didn't have any idea what their approach was going to be or which shrines they were going to be hitting. So I just tried to get them all and try to have like a brief skim of all of them. And it was just so wide open, like I didn't know what to do. And it was kind of like that when we got to Port 9 and Zaru. And it's kind of like that when they were going into the Fane, because it was like they knew they needed to talk to Rosnacy, and it's like a frontal assault would not work. Like, there's no way. And I didn't really think they were going to find that back passage. I had no plans of giving them that back passage. And then they're like, we search the area and see if we can find anything. And they're showing me where they're walking, and they basically walk right past where the secret entrance was. So, and Uriel's passive perception is 19. It's 19. It's like crazy. So when he's actively searching, it gets out of hand. Yeah, I didn't know what to do as far as preparation. And then once we were in there, you know, they just kind of went room to room. Like, I had read the whole Fane, and I'd made a couple of, I made cards for the individual rooms in case they did try a frontal assault. Like, I made one for the gate, one for the I call it the staging room. It was like the room with the wagons and the triceratops and the basilisks. I made a card for that, and I made a card for Fenthaza, who they didn't even talk to. They never met Fenthaza. So a lot of my prep didn't get used at all, because those are like the 3 rooms they didn't even touch. But I felt the less time they spent with Ross Nasi, the better. But Beauregard doesn't like, I mean, the way he plays his character, he doesn't like undead. Undead are a bit of an abomination to Jurgle, the way that he's playing it. And Tien, being with the Emerald Enclave and friends with Kawasha, does not like undead. Like, wants to kill all undead. And then you're here with this, you know, super powerful necromancer with ghouls crawling around. The less time, the better. So it really worked out. The other thing was Ross Nasi. I rolled, when Bo came in, I had like 2 rolls I gave him. So I used to use a D12 for kind of like the mood of an encounter. So like the way that a monster or whatever, an encounter, or the way that they would be perceived. So like a D12, like higher being better and 1 being like basically aggressive. And when they came in, I rolled it and got a 12. So Ross Nasi was very receptive to whatever they were going to say, and he rolled a persuasion. He rolled very high, and Ross Nasi rolled an insight, and he got very high. And again, like the insight, I played it like he was trying to see if they were genuine and on the level with him, and they were. And he was persuasive, and he was open to it when they came in. So it was, you know, it really all got handed to him on a silver platter, but it was 3 random rolls that all 3 were ideal. So I didn't feel bad doing that. I mean, it's going to happen when you rely on the dice rolls, and when you honor the dice rolls instead of, you know, not rolling the dice and just telling the story, or rolling the dice and when they give you something you don't want, just doing your story anyway. So yeah, I just tried to vaguely prepare the stuff that I more intensely prepared I didn't even use, and then it all came down to dice rolls that made everything super easy and smooth anyway. So a lot of fun. So like I said, now they're going to go into the Tomb of the Nine Gods. Reflecting on it, I don't know. I don't think I really have anything that I'd change. I think it went fairly well. I wish I could have made the trap a little more explanatory. The Zorbo trap or puzzle. I think what really threw them was as soon as they went in and they found those 8 sconces in the first hallway, they lit regular torches and put them in there. And then they went through and then they found the 8 torches in the middle room. And it didn't occur to them that those torch sconces were empty, because they're not empty. They had torches in them, but they didn't have the magic torches in them. It had their, so I think they kind of got ahead of themselves, and then that was blocking their thought process. I don't know what I could have done differently. So next session in January. Like I said, I haven't uploaded much. Yeah, thanks for watching. Hope you like this game. It's great. It's a great hobby. And until next time, game on.